Krabi isn't dead. Far from it. But something's definitely changed. Direct flights from China, India, and South Korea disappeared. Hotel prices jumped while occupancy dropped. And suddenly, this stunning province with limestone cliffs and turquoise water is competing for tourists it used to take for granted. So what happened to Krabi? And can it bounce back in 2026? So let's start with what makes this story fascinating. Krabi is objectively stunning. I mean, seriously gorgeous. We're talking about limestone karsts rising straight out of emerald water like something from a fantasy novel. Railay Beach, accessible only by longtail boat because cliffs block land access. The Phi Islands, despite being over-touristed, are still breathtakingly beautiful. The Emerald Pool, where you can swim in naturally heated spring, water surrounded by jungle. Tiger Cave Temple with 1,237 steps leading to panoramic views and a golden Buddha. And that's just the highlights. Krabi has over 150 islands dotted along a 150-kilometer coastline, world-class diving, rock climbing that attracts enthusiasts globally, kayaking through mangroves, snorkeling in crystal-clear water. One travel blogger described Krabi perfectly. Nature didn't just decorate here, it performed a masterpiece. So why is paradise empty? Because even masterpieces need visitors. And Krabi's visitors have disappeared. The big story is Chinese tourists, and by big story, I mean catastrophic collapse. Before COVID, Chinese tourists were Krabi's bread and butter. They came in massive tour groups. They filled hotels, they ate at buffets, they bought souvenirs. The entire mid-range tourism sector was designed around them. Then the pandemic hit. Chinese tourism dropped to zero. When borders reopened in 2024, Krabi expected them to flood back. They didn't. In 2025, Chinese arrivals to Thailand overall dropped 34%, but the impact on Krabi was even worse because the province was so dependent on Chinese tour groups. Pimalai Resort and Spa on Koh Lanta reported that China's market share dropped from 40 to 50% during peak season down to less than 20%. Hotels that used to host 5 Chinese tour buses daily now host none. And it's not just numbers, it's timing. Chinese tourists used to visit during shoulder season, May through October, when European tourists were back home. That created year-round demand. Now those months are quiet. Hotels that used to run at full capacity are offering 30 to 40% discounts just to attract anyone. Why did Chinese tourists abandon Krabi? Same reasons they abandoned Bangkok and Phuket. Safety concerns after the Wangxing kidnapping. Negative social media narratives about Thailand being unsafe, economic slowdown in China, and competition from Vietnam and Japan offering better value and fresher experiences. But here's what makes Krabi's situation unique: the flight problem. This is where things get really interesting. Krabi has a flight shortage. The province doesn't have direct flights from China, India, or South Korea. Those markets used to connect through Bangkok or fly charter flights. But in 2025, charter flights dried up, airlines cut routes, and suddenly, getting to Krabi became complicated. Charantip Tiaforn from Pimalai Resort explained, "The growth of Krabi tourism remains opaque, largely due to slow international flight resumption at Krabi Airport, especially from China, India, and South Korea, which do not have direct services at all. At present, Krabi only has direct flights from Scandinavian countries, Poland, Singapore, Malaysia, and the United Arab Emirates. That's it. If you're Chinese, Indian, or South Korean, you need to connect through Bangkok or another hub, and once tourists are in Bangkok, many just stay there instead of making the extra journey to Krabi. This is a massive infrastructure problem. Phuket has international flights. Bangkok obviously does. But Krabi? It's beautiful, but inaccessible for huge chunks of the market, and airlines won't add routes unless demand justifies it. But demand won't grow unless flights are convenient. It's a vicious cycle. Let me inject some humor because honestly, Krabi's situation is both tragic and a bit absurd. Imagine being one of the most beautiful places on Earth, and your main problem is that nobody can figure out how to get there. It's like having the world's best restaurant in a basement with no signage. Sure, the food is incredible, but if customers can't find you, what's the point? One traveler joked, "Getting to Krabi requires a degree in logistics. First you fly to Bangkok, then you wait 4 hours for a connecting flight, then you land in Krabi. Then you take a shuttle to Ao Nang, then a long-tail boat to Rayleigh. By the time you arrive, you need a vacation from your vacation. And here's the kicker. Krabi is literally next door to Phuket. They're in the same region, same limestone cliffs, same turquoise water. But Phuket gets millions of tourists while Krabi struggles. Why? Flights. Phuket has an international airport with direct routes from China, Russia, Europe, and the Middle East. Krabi doesn't. It's like being the talented younger sibling who never gets the same opportunities as the popular older one, but it's not all doom and gloom because here's the twist. Parts of Krabi are actually thriving. European tourists are coming in strong. The UK, Germany, Switzerland, and Scandinavia are sending steady numbers. These tourists stay longer, spend more, and visit during the November to March high season when weather is perfect. And they're not budget backpackers anymore, they're wellness tourists, yoga retreats, meditation centers, digital nomads working remotely from beachfront cafes, high-end travelers booking eco-certified accommodations. Sharon Tip from Pimalai Resort noted, European guests, our major market, have been impacted by inflation and soaring living costs in their home countries, but they still have a strong desire to travel to Thailand due to the affordable price of tourism products. So Europeans are taking fewer trips per year, 1 or 2 instead of 4, but they're spending more on each trip. They're staying 2 or 3 weeks instead of 1. They're booking villas instead of budget hotels. This is exactly what the Thai government says it wants. Quality tourists who stay longer and spend more, and Krabi is getting them, just not enough to replace the missing Chinese tour groups. Here's something really cool that Krabi is doing right: sustainable tourism. In 2025, Krabi hosted the Global Meaningful Travel Summit, a prestigious event focused on sustainable tourism. This was the first time the summit happened in Southeast Asia, and Krabi was chosen specifically because of its Krabi Prototype initiative. The Krabi Prototype is a long-term strategy balancing tourism growth with environmental preservation. It includes eco-certified accommodations, low-carbon travel options, and community-driven tourism projects. 11 local operators have joined Tourism Care's global network of sustainable partners. Klong Tom Hot Springs was recognized in the Green Destinations Top 100 Stories in 2023. That's a big deal. It positions Krabi as a leader in responsible tourism. And this is smart, because the tourists who care about sustainability, Europeans, Australians, Americans, are exactly the high-value market Krabi is trying to attract. One report stated, Krabi is set to remain at the forefront of Thailand's sustainable tourism movement for years to come. So, while Krabi struggles with flights and Chinese tourists, it's building a foundation for long-term success. That's genuinely impressive. Now, let's talk about what Krabi still gets wrong, because it's not all perfect. First, Ao Nang has become, in the words of a local blogger, completely infested with tourist traps and crappy restaurants. Ao Nang is Krabi's main tourist hub. It's where most people stay, and it's become commercialized and low quality. Overpriced restaurants serving mediocre food, aggressive toots, the same souvenir. Shops selling the same mass-produced junk. One Thai local who spent months in Krabi said, although the streets of Ao Nang have become completely infested with tourist traps and crappy restaurants, there are still so many gems left that make Krabi worth visiting. Notice the phrasing, still so many gems left, meaning they're disappearing. Second, the Phi Phi Islands are over-industrialized. They used to be paradise. Now they're packed with day trippers, littered with garbage after parties and losing their natural charm. Local bloggers actively recommend skipping Phi Phi and going to lesser-known islands like Koh Hong instead. Third, Grab drivers in Krabi are being terrorized by local taxis. If a Grab driver picks you up in taxi territory, they have to park 200 meters away and tell you to walk over, because local taxis will attack them otherwise. That's not sustainable tourism, that's a protection racket. Fourth, accommodation prices have jumped. A bungalow that used to cost affordable rates now costs significantly more. Budget travelers are being priced out, and while high-end tourists fill the gap, Krabi loses its backpacker vibe and diversity. So, what needs to happen in 2026 for Krabi to recover? First, fix the flight problem. This is non-negotiable. Krabi needs direct flights from China, India, and South Korea. The Tourism Authority and airports of Thailand need to work with airlines to make routes financially viable. Offer subsidies, guarantee passenger loads, whatever it takes. Without flights, Krabi will keep losing to Phuket and Bangkok. Second, clean up Ao Nang. Not literally, though that wouldn't hurt, but economically. Crack down on tourist traps, support quality restaurants and businesses, make Ao Nang a place tourists want to visit, not avoid. Third, regulate taxis and transport. The Grab driver situation is embarrassing. Create fair rules. Enforce them. Don't let local taxi mafias bully competition. Fourth, protect the islands. Phi Phi is already damaged. Don't let the same thing happen to Koh Hong, Koh Lanta, and Railay. Limit visitor numbers. Enforce environmental protections. Charge entrance fees that fund conservation. Fifth, market the sustainable tourism angle harder. Krabi is ahead of the curve with the Krabi prototype. Tell that story. Attract tourists who care about responsible travel. Position Krabi as the eco-friendly alternative to Phuket. Sixth, diversify the calendar. Right now, November to March is packed. May to October is empty. Create shoulder season promotions. Offer discounts. Market the quieter months as perfect for digital nomads and long-stay wellness tourists. And finally, be patient with the Chinese market. It's not coming back to 2019 levels. Accept that. Focus on other markets. India is growing. The Middle East has potential. Europeans are steady. Build a tourism economy that doesn't depend on one source. Look, Krabi has incredible bones, literally. Those 200-million-year-old limestone cliffs aren't going anywhere. The natural beauty is timeless. The Emerald Pool will still be gorgeous in 50 years. Railay Beach will still take your breath away. Tiger Cave Temple will still reward climbers with panoramic views. But tourism isn't just about beauty. It's about accessibility, value, safety, and experience. And on those fronts, Krabi has work to do. The good news? Krabi is already doing some things right. The sustainable tourism push is smart. The European market is stable. The infrastructure exists. Hotels, restaurants, tour operators, transport. What Krabi needs is better connectivity, smarter marketing, and cleaner operations. Fix the flights. Clean up Ao Nang, protect the environment, and the tourists will come. So is Krabi empty? Not exactly, but it's quieter than it should be. And that's both a problem and an opportunity. A problem because businesses are struggling, workers are losing jobs, revenue is down. The province depends on tourism, and tourism is declining. But an opportunity because Krabi now has space to reset, to build a better, more sustainable model, to focus on quality over quantity, to preserve the natural beauty that makes it special. Over-tourism destroys destinations. We've seen it in Phi Phi, Phuket, and countless other places. Krabi has a chance to avoid that fate, to grow smartly, to prioritize long-term health over short-term profits. The question is, will they take it? Should you visit Krabi in 2026? Absolutely. Right now is actually the perfect time. Fewer crowds, better deals, the beaches are still stunning, the food is still incredible, the people are still warm and welcoming. You can visit Railay without fighting through hordes of tourists. You can enjoy the Emerald Pool without waiting in line. You can get a long-tail boat to yourself. Just skip Ao Nang unless you have to. Stay in Railay or Krabi town instead. Skip Phi Phi and go to Koh Hong or Koh Lanta. Hire local guides. Eat at family-owned restaurants. Choose eco-certified accommodations. Experience the Krabi that locals love. Not the commercialized tourist trap version, the real one, the one with limestone cliffs, turquoise water, jungle hikes, and genuine Thai hospitality. See you in the next video.